What's going down? What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Jonathan Johnson, here with InBETWEEN, a platform that is set to empower individuals with the knowledge to make the right choice. And I know you saw the title. The title said that this is part 2 of the 3-part video series, Choice Influencers. And today for part 2, our special guest is Houston White, the founder and creator of H White Men's Room. And we happen to be at H White Men's Room, HWMR. And I want y'all to do me a favor. I want y'all to make the choice to subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications, like this video, and share it with everybody. And always, always, always comment your thoughts down below. Now let's get inside for episode 2, part 2 of the 3-part video series, Choice Influencers, with the one and the only Houston White. And I have here Houston White, the founder and creator of H White Men's Room, HWMR. How are you today?
I'm well, young man. How are you?
I'm great, man. I can't complain. What was your day like today?
My day was like it is in the day in the life of any entrepreneur.
Okay.
You know, you wake up, you got your task list. Actually, I had a tennis lesson today.
You did?
In fact, yeah. So we broke the monotony up.
Okay.
I ain't played tennis in 20 years. My man was hitting volleys, and it was like my heart was about to break through my chest. So,
Man.
you know, but it was all good though, man.
Tennis.
Yeah.
I am not a tennis player, enthusiast, no tennis, no nothing.
Huh?
I know Venus and Serena.
Come on, man.
That's it. That's all I know.
You know, you married, right?
I am married.
All right, so you gonna, you know, did you used to hoop?
Used to. I still hoop, man.
You used to hoop. Anyway, as you get more mature, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And you can't hoop. Well, I'm just saying, you know, you slow down a bit. So, you know, you got to hustle different games.
Yeah.
Golf is one of them.
Uh-huh.
But then it's tennis. I was in there with some seasoned folk, 70 plus,
Okay.
all playing tennis. That's a game for life. So like golf, you and the beautiful wife, y'all can go to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're playing tennis.
Where you do tennis at? Where was it at today?
It was in Woodbury today.
Okay.
Yeah, dope little spot, indoor spot. But,
Nice.
you know, yeah.
Dope. Houston White, man. Can you share with the people what it is you do for a living?
What it is I do for a living. I creatively curate culture.
You creatively curate culture.
But I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, that's what I do. I things that I like, things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Who I am, I share with people.
Yeah.
You know, from cutting hair to clothes to politics to money management, you name it.
So cut hair, clothing, money management, and politics. Talk about this cutting hair thing. What is it? You a barber? You got your own barber shop? What is it? What do
You know, I started cutting hair when I was 12 as a means of long. I did that long ago. But yeah, as a means of like being creative, but also hustling simultaneously. Because before I got into trouble, I was always interested in hair cutting. And then, you know, growing up in North Minneapolis, I mean, the allure of street life is real.
Seriously.
And it's not necessarily the product. It's not necessarily being a drug dealer. It's the things that dealing drugs can get you immediately, right?
Wow.
That's the whole. If Lil Homies was out here and his cheese was the product, it'd be a whole bunch of cheese curry stands out here if you could get, you know what I mean? So I don't think nobody necessarily wants to be a drug dealer. And I wasn't a good drug dealer. It's a grimy business for me. You know, I'm really a church. Well, I wouldn't say a church kid. I went to church, but
You're funny. Back to where we was at, man.
I mean, you know, I'm just saying. But no, I grew up in church. You know that was a part of my journey, and so and I come from a good family. You know, so selling drugs was just a means to get money. And then when I got in trouble, went to jail for selling drugs, I had this. Two things. One, my friend, who was an attorney, put his reputation on the line to get me out of jail on a Sunday.
Wow.
Which that doesn't happen. And so I made a solemn promise that I would ever touch drugs again. and I didn't. And so that's when cutting hair became like my primary means of the hustle.
Yeah.
And then because the guys like David and George and Henry were into barber school, they were 4 years older than me. Yeah. So you can imagine a kid being in 8th grade, getting 12th grade game, bringing it back to the 8th graders. Yeah. So that was my advantage. Well, yeah, I was cutting and moving and shaking with them. So yeah, and so years and years and years go by. I've just evolved what I'm doing, but it's still under the same connective tissue to real people and community, but that's then amazing. Just evolving in a bit.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we talked about the barbering, and you see, we in your barbershop right now. We had HWMI, and we see this Black Excellence. I'm repping the BE. You got the, what you got right there?
I got the Be the Change golf line on there. We make in Africa.
So talk about this amazing Black Excellence line you got. Talk about the HWMR line.
So it's a lifestyle brand that has many verticals, right? Yeah. And somebody asked the question, well, why the verticals, or why when you think about HWMR as a master brand, it's kind of like the same way you might think of a Ralph Lauren as a master brand. Underneath that brand, you have Ralph Lauren Golf, Ralph Lauren Home, Ralph Lauren Sport. Yeah, let's go boom, 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 right? Because they all kind of touch, but they're not of the same. So. One day I might feel like I want to represent culture in the sense of like I'm just Black excellence, right? And I want that to be loud on my chest. The next day I want to go to a golf course, and the thing is I love golf, but I don't feel represented in the garments that are an option for me to buy at the various places. So I decided that I was going to figure out how to make my own stuff that represented culture, and it got even deeper because we made a connection in Africa. And so those clothes actually are made in Africa, right? And so it's a touch point because we're many different things. That's why the different verticals. And sometimes it's as simple as a sweatshirt with Be the Change on it because you're a change maker, right? You're a change agent. And how can you be the change? By just focusing on every day being the best version of yourself. And that's what that brand is really about. King Kunta, because frustrated, right? Like being called subhuman or being misrepresented culturally. So that's really what it's about. Is like we have different subsets, different styles. We might want to wear different things in different places, but this line has different places where people can get in where they fit.
That's amazing. Your brand gives so many people different choices, and the choice that you made to create something that represents who we are. It gives other people the ability to have confidence. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I can go to work. If I don't want to wear Black Excellence, I can wear Be the Change. No doubt. It still speaks that message that my melanin is excellence.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing, man. Yes, so what choices have you made in your journey in this entrepreneurship that have put you in the place that you are today?
The choices several. I mean, one is understanding delayed gratification.
Okay, delayed gratification.
Yeah. I mean, so for instance, one small example. When I got married, my wife and I got married in our house. Okay. And we talked about maybe doing ceremonies at other places later on. But what I understood after a while, I don't want to feed 300 people that I don't necessarily hang out with on a regular basis. So is that really a good use of money? And so instead of doing and feeding 300 people, we bought property and real estate, which gave us a leg up, put us ahead of the game. And instead of buying, I made my fair share of ridiculous purchases, but when I got big sums of money, I bought tools that I could use for my businesses, so delayed gratification. And I only had 2 pair of pants and 1 pair of shoes. That was it. That was good clothes. Everything else was work clothes for like 2 years. Everything else. So I always see young folks and they talk about they're gonna do this, that, and the other. And if they wasn't willing to sacrifice like I sacrifice, it probably ain't gonna happen.
So you made choices to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And those choices to sacrifice put you in a position that you are today.
Absolutely. It's like Kobe just passed away and we're in awe of his work schedule. That was my work schedule.
Nice.
And so that's what it takes, man. Sacrifice.
So what's the biggest sacrifice? What's the biggest choice you had to make in your sacrifice? The biggest sacrifice you made, what was it?
The biggest sacrifice I made.
The biggest one.
My ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your ego meaning like you gotta go and serve people. You gotta serve your way to the top. You don't know stuff, and the only way you're gonna know it is to get close to somebody who knows it.
That's true.
Unless you hang with a bunch
100%.
of idiots and y'all just regurgitating the same dumb information to each other and going around in a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
But so you gotta sacrifice ego and say, I need help.
Yeah.
What can I do for you? Admitting that you don't know stuff.
Yeah. That's hard though.
When you mess up, just own it.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough, but it's ego based. You know, so I think for me, the biggest sacrifice was just like having to like be okay with being inept sometimes.
So many people struggle to be underneath that person to learn. And a wise man, he always tells me every single day, I ain't gonna say who, but he says you got to be willing to serve. Got to be willing to serve. In your life growing up, who has influenced you to make better choices?
The village, right?
The village. What is the village?
The village is all the people that have impacted your life in a way.
Yeah.
We're tribal. I'm from Mississippi, and
What part of Mississippi?
Jackson, Mississippi, man.
Where you
Proud,
from?
born and raised.
You from
the bottom. Yeah. From where it's really real. But I tell you, Mississippi, you know, there's this, especially when I was growing up, it's changed now because, you know, a lot of folks have moved, but and our elders, you know, have gone on home, and so the community is a little different than it was when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, where you go from house to house, and it was like a family member, even if they weren't family.
Wow.
And you seeing moving and shaking and commerce and community, and on Friday nights it's fish fries up and down the block, and it might be a juke joint at the top of the hill and some church service going on at the bottom, you know.
Something always going on.
Yeah, but it was all black.
Yeah.
All culture.
Wow.
All its own form of excellence.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of what I mean when I say village. It's just like there are many different people who have a similar subset of goals. And so my village represented many different people who had a united interest in getting this kid over the hump of adolescence and manhood in one piece. So that goes from my mom, my uncles, my aunt Lorene, my dearly departed wife, who always challenged me to, for instance, to speak, to write, to be creative, and don't just like hold it to the vest, right? Share it with the world.
Share it with the world.
I mean, you name it, man. Like certain, I remember learning the concept of leverage on the golf course. You know, I'm just out there golfing at Theater West, and this guy asked me, I had just told him I had bought a house, older black man, I'm blanking on his name. And I had told him, he said, what'd you pay for it? We talking, having this whole story. And I told him, he said, well, man, you should have bought more house. I'm thinking he's gonna be like, man, that's great, like, cheer me on. He said, man, you young. This is the time to take risk. You should have bought more house. I said, well, explain more what you mean. He said, I'm not telling you to go out and buy double the house. He said, but and he broke down the concept of leverage. And it was just brilliant. But people like that, man, like throughout my life, it's just been various folks. I mean, I'm talking to them right now about George and David and Henry, and those guys were part of my village because, I mean, I can say it now because we passed the statute of limitations. They don't own no shops no more. I was bootlegging, you know what I'm saying, cutting hair, and didn't have no license. You didn't have no license. You know, and it was all good, you know what I'm saying? So, but they took a risk, you know what I'm saying? Just a lot of people, man, just various folks that all.
That's amazing. The choice to stay with your village, man, the village can pull you out. So what has influenced you?
And the wrong village to take you down.
You ain't lying about that.
Yeah.
You ain't lying about that. So what has influenced you to make better choices?
What has influenced me to make better choices? disappointing my mom, right, in the past.
Yeah.
Disappointing my wife,
Wow.
you know, in the past.
Yeah.
I think successes or failures that I see in other people, you know, the best thing to do is learn from somebody else's mistake.
You ain't lying about that.
Too often, you know, people think it's gonna be different for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it ain't.
okay. And so I always try to like look and, you know, see what's working, what's not working, and then analyze whether that's like a personal issue that somebody's not just seeing it right or getting it right, or are they just making a fatal flaw, and are they flawed? And so you can learn from that. And I've seen a lot of really smart people do really dumb things, and I've seen a lot of people who I thought are people that I should look up to, and when I got close to them, I realized that their purpose or intention, I didn't feel like was coming from a pure place.
Yeah.
So I think it depends. It's situational, but for me personally, like just who I am, what I'm trying to be, was really about like my family and disappointing people that I love, and thinking about like legacy and purpose and what is the point of all of this. And so yeah, that's how you gotta, for me at least, is the greatest question is why. Somebody tells me they want to do something, I'm like, why? You know, if you don't, until you know your why, I'm the wrong person to talk to. You know, because until you can articulate that clearly, I'm not jumping on board.
So how do people find that why? How do people find that? If they're struggling to find that why, how would you best advise them to find that why?
One of the best ways that I heard it described, and this really resonated with me, is like, go to your own funeral. And one of my mentors teaches from the grave. She takes her pupils to the grave and say, this is where you're going to end up. What do you want people to say about you when you're here?
That's good.
And another way I heard it said, because, you know, is go to your own and plan your own funeral.
Yeah.
At your eulogy, when people stand up.
What do you want them to say?
And that should, you back up then and inform to begin to live a life such that that's what people will say about you. And that's how you find your why.
I've never thought about it like that. That's good. That's phenomenal.
So, and then another of my mentors, you know.
mentors on.
Oh, I got all tons of them.
Man.
And as I say, I'm not a boss, I'm a lifelong student.
Yes, sir.
So I have very smart mentors. I tell anybody, get them and lay and sit at their feet. But one of my mentors said, like, look, there's the arc, all right?
Yeah.
And she told me anything that is not on that arc, the answer is no.
Wow. Anything.
Good, bad, or indifferent. So you got too many people saying yes to stuff. And it's fine. It's not right is not the enemy of wrong per se, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's good is the enemy of bad, like it's a bad choice for you. It doesn't have to be a right or wrong choice, right? Like that's not the thing. I'm not doing this because it's the right thing to do. It's just not good for you.
So what is the arc?
The arc is your purpose. The arc is what you're trying to accomplish. The arc is you only have so much time. The arc is, are you actually going to get there? And that means, for instance, if you want to play in the NBA, you can't be out here balling with people that play at a D3 level.
Ain't gonna help you.
No. So those pickup games you got to say no to, and go be awful in the pickup games where everybody is as good or better than you.
Because it's gonna prepare you.
Yeah. So that's why you got to be very precise and intentional.
That's amazing. Yeah. So anybody who is trying to endeavor into this entrepreneurship journey, what would you best advise them to do? What choices would you help them to make?
What choices? Mm-hmm. I mean, the first step is you got to figure out, do you really want to be mangled like that? Like, do you really want to be eaten alive and spit out? Can you handle that?
Yeah.
That's number one.
Okay.
Because it ain't easy, you know? I mean, it is daunting, to say the least. And when you get past and you can answer the question, it's like, okay, I'm finna pursue this.
Yeah.
there is a soul searching that has to occur around like your ego.
Okay.
You know, because it's going to get bruised. You're going to be told no a lot, and you're going to be isolated.
Yeah.
And that's going to make you feel like, am I doing something wrong?
Wow.
Right? Am I the one that's missing? And then you might want to go back and join the crowd.
Yeah.
Lions don't run in packs. Eagles don't fly in packs. And entrepreneurs don't necessarily move in big groups.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that is required that it's a mirror to a lot of people.
Seriously.
And they're going to tell you all kinds of things that you're doing is unnecessary, wrong.
They not doing
all that, because you're a mirror.
Yeah.
And so it's a real thing though. I mean, it's real, because if you're going to go on this journey, most people, it's like, think of it as like you're chopping at a rock, right? And behind that rock is diamonds. Like there's a commercial or something out about it now, but it's like you chopping, and you were about to break through, but you've been chopping so long you quit, and all it takes is 5 more strokes for diamonds to flow.
Yeah. He talking about power of your choice, part 1, the first video, power of your choice.
Yeah, and so it's that kind of commitment to not quit, because you don't know when the breakthrough's coming, right?
You have no clue.
You have no clue. But most people quit prior to, and they were just that close.
That close.
So it's that attitude of like, I'm never gonna give up. And you'll get there. Just don't know the time. But
you just don't know the time. But that's the scary part.
That's the scary part.
Because folk don't know the unknown.
Yeah. That is daunting. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm saying you have to make a decision. It's a lot safer to go to work, to know where the N's and the I's and the J's and the B's and the T's, and that you can, so that's a different life, right? It's
maturity.
Yeah. And you know, for me, like the other part of it is conscientiously, you know, like the pursuit of money or like fame or whatever that is that some people attach to entrepreneurship, will rip your soul out. Your humanity will be lost in a way if the pursuit isn't tied to purpose.
That's good.
So you gotta have that why figured out, that purpose. Because if there's a greater good, you know, one of my mentors, we just talked about this, what's in the highest and best, what's in your highest good?
Wow. And
those are the things you focus on. You know, and so if I'm making clothes, I'm not making clothes because I'm not trying to beat the next person I've been making clothes since I was 14 years old. I've been selling so there's a competition that people like, well, I got the hottest street brand. Well, what does your brand mean? What's behind it? Who cares? What's the purpose? Any creative that can put art together can make something look good and compel people to buy it. 100%. Beyond that, what is the point of it? Can you articulate it? What's the 100-year plan of your brand? What is the impact outside of
100-year plan?
100-year plan.
Folks ain't thinking that far. A century from now.
A century from now.
That's good.
My last meeting with my mentor, she asked me, she said, what's your favorite era, right?
Yeah.
And I said the 20s. So if you look at all around here, it's black and white photography and all that. The aesthetic is very like classic. Those barber chairs are from the 30s inspired, right? So in 1930, somebody designed that chair, and I got it in my barbershop in 2020. That's 100 years of impact.
That's amazing.
See what I'm saying? So she told me, like, it's 2020. She asked me, what's my favorite era? I said the 20s. She said, why? And I talked about the newsboy caps and all of the, you know, different things and the elegance and the, and she says 2020, 100 years ago, is influencing you today. So what are you going to do today to influence 100 years from now?
Wow. Yeah. As you know, In Between, it's a platform to empower people with knowledge so that they can make the right choice. In Between empowers, they make the right choice. So as we get on out of here, what is it that you want to tell the people in a short synopsis to empower them with knowledge so that they can make the right choice?
First and foremost, no one can beat you being you. There's not another one in the planet.
Nobody.
We got a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So when you own that and you got no identity issues, no struggles, no comparisons, because the only person that you're competing against is yourself.
Yeah.
And I think when you're willing to commit wholeheartedly into something and ideate, because ideation is important.
Yeah.
What you thought of today will probably not be what it ends up being, but stick to what you believe in, right? Like when I sit with an idea for a long time and try to make sure it's from God. I try to make sure it's a part of my destiny and not just something. And once I'm convinced that it's something that I'm moved or compelled to do, I don't worry anymore. I just go and take the steps, and I know what is going to come of it if I just stay the course.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, it's a simple formula, man. I mean, I think you got to just believe wholeheartedly in yourself, and know that the choices, if they're, I mean, everyone knows, right? We all got a conscience. And I knew when I was making certain choices that was from not the best place. So I think just rely on that intuition, and then once you make that choice, commit.
That's amazing, man. Choice influences, part 2, here with Houston White. Tell them where they can find you on social media, man.
Man, everywhere. But I Facebook, at hwmr.usa. Instagram, same. And then just Houston White Jr. on all those social media handles.
If y'all didn't know, this is my uncle.
This is my guy, man.
This is my uncle, man.
I got a story, but I won't tell y'all here about the dun-dun-dun.
We love y'all, man. Hey, Choice Influencers, we out.